Once again, we welcome you to another week in our Wonderful Day on the Lord broadcast. It's always a pleasure that you could join us, and we're working through the book of Job together. We got up to chapter 30 now, and I hope that you're enjoying our study. I know I've had a few people kind of mention to me, well, why don't you move on from all these dialogues between Job and his friends? Let's get to the good stuff where God begins to speak a little later in the book and things get wrapped up, and that is the good stuff. It really is. It's the parts that people gravitate toward and truly enjoy. Chapter 1 and 2 is insightful as well. And a lot of people just leave out those middle sections. But I want to caution you about that. The Lord didn't put things in His Word to ignore. There's a reason for all things. There's different reasons for different portions of Scripture, but He didn't just give us stuff to skip through. We like the good sections, the applicational sections. I think of the book of Hebrews, which I'm preaching through on Sunday mornings right now. In that particular book, everybody loves chapter 11 and maybe chapter 12. Most people could skip through all the stuff with the high priesthood and the new covenant and all those things that are very intense and difficult. Let's move right on to chapter 11. But you don't understand chapter 11 if you don't understand the first 10 chapters. And so, same thing with Job. The Lord put these dialogues in here for a reason, and we're actually moving right now towards that reason. Job is being exposed for his issue, the issue God is working on in his life. And so we're going to finish up Job's dialogue and what he has to say today and tomorrow, and then we'll move on to another friend that we haven't heard about before. But in Job chapter 30, Job has just got through bragging about himself in chapter 29 and talking about all the things that he has done right and why God should notice those things. But that isn't how his life is working out. And so he opens chapter 30 with the words, but now, those younger than me mocked me. But now, 3 times he says in this chapter, but now. So things have not turned out the way they're supposed to turn out. My life, which was smooth as butter, he says at one place, is an absolute mess now. And that's the situation. And he talks about a number of things. In verse 1, he's talking about people mocking him. And he says here that, whose fathers I disdain to put with the dogs of my flock. And so he's being mocked by people. And he would have to be saying he's being mocked by lowlifes, by people that he wouldn't even hardly pay attention to in the past, which shows maybe a flaw in Job's character as well. We don't want to go too far with that, but that's a possibility. And it's having, in verse 9, it says, but now I have become their taunt. I have even become a byword to them. So these people that are very low on the social structure are people that are taunting him and making fun of him. And this is very difficult for Job, as it is for all of us. You know the old ditty about sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me is simply not true. And most of us know that. If you've ever been mocked, made fun of by someone in more superior, powerful position than you, and you have no recourse, no way to answer them, you know how difficult that is. And most people have felt that at one time or the other in their life. Some people, sadly, in much of their life. By verse 16, we see the effect on him. But now, he says, my soul is poured out within me. Days of afflictions have seized me. My soul is broken, is poured out within me, and affliction has seized me. And for all this he blames God. Verse 20, I cry out to you for help, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you turn your attention against me. God is ignoring Job at best. But more than that, he goes on to say that God is being mean to him. This is his view of God right now. Verse 21, you have become cruel to me. With the might of your hand, you persecute me. God is a cruel God in Job's understanding of God right now. And in verse 26, he says, this is not what I expected. He's disappointed, and he's disappointed with God. Verse 26, he says, when I expected good, then evil came. When I waited for light, then darkness came. I am seething within and cannot relax. So God has disappointed Job, in his opinion. You might remember Phil Yancey's book some years ago, Disappointment with God. And what a horrible title, because we can never be disappointed with God. Our expectations are wrong, and that causes disappointment, but God never disappoints. Well, that's exactly where Job is. He's disappointed with God because his expectations of God and life and of himself are not biblically sound. So he's going to finish up his dialogue, his discussion about these things tomorrow. So I trust you can be with us tomorrow.